Hey everyone, I'm Nikhil with Esteem. Now, as you know, this book collecting hobby of ours can get pretty expensive. So here are 5 resources for cheap or free physical books that might help you fill out your bookshelves. Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Nikhil with Esteem. This is a booktube channel that specializes in all things books, book adaptations, by a composer who specializes in writing music for book adaptations. You might have heard some of my music in The Wheel of Time Season 2, his Dark Material Season 3, and the official Brent Weeks companion album for Lightbringer. So I wanted to talk a little bit about something that I'm very passionate about, which is collecting books. And I think most of us who watch channels like this, booktube channels, can attest to the fact that we're always trying to, get through our TBRs, only to put more books on there from watching other channels and getting other recommendations. Then we're also trying to fill out our bookshelves with the best and brightest editions, the most beautiful editions. We judge a book by its cover. Let's face the facts, right? Now, the only problem with that, I think, is that it becomes a struggle. Because we are constantly looking for the next thing. We're constantly looking to get the most beautiful editions we possibly can. And that adds up both financially and then also kind of mental real estate. And I'm very passionate about this because I realize that a lot of people are in different financial positions. I was in a different financial position where I couldn't afford the best collector's editions for the longest time. And so I know what it feels like to kind of see all these different channels with like a beautiful array of books in the background. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I think it's wonderful. But, it does feel hard for people who can't necessarily collect those books and pay top dollar for them. So I wanted to really make this video to provide some other resources that you might not have previously considered that might help you fill out your bookshelves, but not break the bank at the same time. So the first one I want to talk about are called Bookswaps. So if you look in your local community, you'll usually see, if you look on like Craigslist or, kind of other community posts, you will see posts about book swaps. Obviously in larger cities, you'll see more of this. But there are places where people go to swap books, exchange books that they don't want in favor of books that they do. And one of the particular ones that I've turned to are what they call the little free libraries. So you may see in your neighborhood, in your local community, houses where they have, it almost looks like little bird boxes, right? It's like, it has like a little window and you open it and it has a bunch of books inside, and it's called the little free library system. And so houses all over the world are now having these outside their door where people can come and see if there's a selection of books that they like and pick one out, and at some point return it or add another one to the mix. And over the years, I have a few in my neighborhood. So I'll just kind of go on a morning walk or an afternoon walk and I'll peruse. And if I see something I like, I'll grab it and I'll read it and I'll enjoy it. And then I'll either return it or I'll bring another one in its stead. And I have found literally over the years, dozens of sometimes pristine hardcover copies of some of my favorite books. Like I've found whole fantasy series in there. I've found sci-fi books. I've found even rarer editions, maybe older editions. I just found like a 1950s copy of Gone with the Wind in there, and stuff like that, like things you wouldn't necessarily consider. And not only does this help with obviously curbing the financial aspect of it, but it also ends up promoting a more spontaneous reading adventure. Like, we always have these TBR lists where we try to plan out everything to a T. But, sometimes we get beholden to a schedule, and it's nice to go like, what do I feel like reading right now? What's my mood-based read? Or, I never considered this before. Let me just pick it up and see what happens. Sometimes the best reading experiences come from that. So I think it promotes twofold, both a financial kind of, ability to fill out your bookshelf, but then also to be able to go on a spontaneous reading adventure. So that's the first one, book swaps, and most specifically, the little free library system. Now, the second one I wanted to talk to you about is one that I've used a little bit, but I haven't used as extensively. So let me know in the comments if you end up using this way of finding books and what your experience has been. But Craigslist and FreeCycle, they're two different sites, Craigslist.org and I think FreeCycle.org. I want to say. I'm going to link them down here in the description as well, so you can check those out. And I'm going to link, basically everything in here. You can find free sections of places where people are giving away items. It could be anything from musical instruments to books. And I found books there as well. Sometimes like people are just leaving boxes outside their door, and you can go and peruse and see what you want. That's a great way to see, you sometimes discover things that you didn't realize that either you wanted to read, or you discover things that's like, oh, I've always wanted to read that and I totally forgot about it. So I found that that's a really great option for finding free books or cheap books. Now, obviously with these first two items, you're not able to necessarily like have as much of a selection, where you're able to like decide like, oh, I want to search for a particular book, right? These are a bit more spontaneous reading, adventure oriented. So let me give you a third one, which is basically the ability to search for books. Now, this is not a free site, but it is a little bit cheaper than you would find at either at a local bookstore or on Amazon or Barnes & Noble or something like that. And that is thriftbooks.com. So I've used ThriftBooks a ton, and I found great editions of like out-of-print books. I found pristine copies of some of my favorite Stephen King books. And if you see in the back here, you can't really tell because it's a little blurry, but I have a whole shelf dedicated to Stephen King, and like more than half of it I've gotten on ThriftBooks. So the way ThriftBooks works is you could search for your author or book, and you can specify like hardcover, trade paperback, that kind of thing. And then you can also specify the condition. There's like new, there's like new, there's very good, there's good, and there's fair, I believe, is the lowest tier. I usually try to go for very good or higher. As I've found, even the very good can be a little bit suspect. There's like little, maybe small tears or on the cover or something like that. So double check that it's exactly the kind of condition that you'd want and things like that. So that's the only caveat with that one, but I've found fantastic books there, and I've found ones that are a little bit more well loved, but sometimes there's nothing wrong with that. Seeing the history of this book and like what it's been through to get to your hands, like that Gone with the Wind one that I just mentioned a little earlier in the video. It's a 1950s book, so yeah, it's a little worn, but it just looks beautiful on the shelf because you could tell like it was well loved getting to you. So sometimes you find kind of more well loved copies. Sometimes you find also really pristine copies. So that was number 3, thriftbooks.com. Now number 4 is an interesting one. I actually just discovered this morning when putting together this list, so I haven't gotten a chance to check this out, but I highly encourage you all to check it out, and let me know in the comments if you find it to be useful for you. I'm actually going to check it out because I just searched for my location in this, and I found a couple of possible books to check out, but none other than Book Crossing. So Book Crossing is, I think it's such a cool idea. It's basically like a book scavenger hunt. So people from all over the world, and you can even see a world map where you could see where books are located, or you could search by region, but people from all over the world will put books in specific places in areas of the world for you to discover, and you can actually search for it. So I went on Book Crossing just this morning, and I searched for, my area, which is Los Angeles, and within Los Angeles, you could search for a suburb. I found one called North Hollywood that was 10 minutes away, and I found a copy of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which is a fantasy book. And it's just 10 minutes away, waiting to be picked up. I think that's just a fantastic idea. Like, it's both a book adventure scavenger hunt. You can search by your location, and you can find free books that are just available to pick up. And you can also leave ones and kind of give a description of where it's located for other people to discover. I love community-oriented experiences like that, where you can make the process of collecting books to be an adventure of its own. Books are already an adventure, but collecting books being an adventure, I think that's just a fantastic idea. So number 4 is Book Crossing. So definitely check that out. Link is also in the description. So number 5 is my personal favorite, and one I do every month, which is probably an obvious choice, but I'm going to add a slightly non-obvious choice to this choice. So number 5 is, of course, the library. So now you're thinking, wait, but you can check out books there, but you have to return them, obviously, right? So libraries are great because if you want to check out books, but you also want to return them afterwards, you can obviously do that. But there's also in bigger cities a library system. So for example, in Los Angeles, I believe there's 73 public libraries in the system. So you can go on the library website, you can search, and you can put it on hold, a book that you want, and you can have it delivered to the library that's closest to you. So now you open up so much more of a catalog of books to discover. Second part of this, which I really like, and I use it every month, and in fact, there's one going on tomorrow in LA, so of course I'm going to be there, is the monthly library book sale. So how that works is like every month, specific libraries, oftentimes in your community, will have a book sale because they often get a lot of different donations, right? And at a certain point, they get at capacity. So what do they do with all those donated books? They sell them for a nominal amount, and those proceeds go towards the library. So it's a really win-win for everyone. And I found at my local library, and it's in Los Angeles, and Los Angeles is, of course, not a cheap place, right? But I found pristine copies of trade paperbacks for 50 cents. And I found pristine copies of hardbacks for $1. So I've gotten like entire Ken Follett series there for like $3. I've gotten sci-fi trilogies there for $3. I also made a video of a book haul recently. I'm going to link that up here right now. And if you check that out, you'll see the majority of the books in that book haul I got from this library book sale. So it's just a fantastic way of getting books, meeting people in your community, sharing the love of that. And it's pretty funny to see like a line around the block at 9:30 a.m. on a Saturday at a library for people who are rushing in to get books. So it's quite a scene, let me tell you. The real parties happen at the library on a Saturday morning. Let's face the facts. At least that's what I think. So anyways, those are my 5 great resources for free or cheap books that you can find in your local community to be able to fill out your bookshelves in a way that doesn't break the bank, but also fosters your love of reading, your individualized, personalized, and spontaneous reading adventure. So with that, I'm Nick here with Shelf Esteem. Let me know, where are some other cheap, free resources where people can turn to find books in their local community? Leave them in the comments as well. And let me know if you end up using any of these and what you liked about it, what you didn't like. I think a lot of people in our community could benefit, our BookTube community could benefit from learning more about these resources and, which one is the best one that works for them. So thank you so much for watching. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and I'll see you next time. Take care.